everybody, welcome to Just Start Podcast. Really appreciate you being here. Today is a very, very special interview for me because it's actually with Dr. Saltz, who is a prominent psychologist in the field down here in South Florida, and he works with patients from all over the world. With Zoom and our technology, with where we're at right now, I think it's something that is very needed. Thank you for being on the show.
You're most welcome.
So a lot of our listeners, according to my analytics, are 18 to 25, and a lot of the questions are asked to be anonymous because they're reluctant to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist because of shame or because of pride or because of, psychiatrists are for crazy people. I'm not crazy. My anxiousness isn't even that bad. I can work it out myself. What would you say to that?
The first thing that comes to mind is the sense of well-being. If you have already a sense of well-being and your function is not impaired, there is no problem. There's just part of life stuff. But if you are struggling internally with discomfort, or your ability to function in your responsibilities or in your interpersonal relationships is in any way, shape, or form impaired, then there is a problem. Whether you want to call it that or not, there is a problem of some kind. So now the question becomes, if there is a problem of some kind, then what do you do about it? I don't care if you are able to identify what the problem is and you can begin to do something about it, that you do it on your own and don't engage somebody else to assist you. But if you have a problem and you don't do something about it and it governs you, then you're behaving somewhere between irresponsibly and stupidly, because you're limiting your own life from greater levels of depth and breadth and capability than you would otherwise have if you just fixed the problem or the challenge that faces you. One of the reasons why people often don't reach out to other people for help is a sense of either pride or shame, a sense of embarrassment over the existence of something. From my perspective, it harkens back to the very fundamental issue of I'm okay. I'm okay. It doesn't matter what you are, what you think, what you want. I'm okay. And when I get pushed off that center, when I'm not okay, I have to figure out whether it's me who's pushing me off that center, my biology that's pushing me off that center, or you who's pushing me off that center. Ultimately in life, most successful people do not do things totally by themselves. The world is an interdependent place, and our job is to know where we fit into the series of interdependencies.
I think we were at the Steinway Piano Center, where we had a young person who was a talented pianist. It's a weird word, piano player. He performed, and I brought with me, I don't know if you remember, 2 student leaders. One of them Pedro Cleto, just got the Leadership Award for Boca High and is, I think, going to go on to do wonderful, terrific things. Pedro told me after that event, and talking with you and talking with some other people who are in the business of healing and helping, I'll never forget what he said. I actually wrote it down. And he said, I find that the more that I get to heal individually, collectively, I can see others heal too. It's like I had to go through it so that I can help them. And that's from a 18-year-old.
Very sensitive and insightful. No man is an island, bottom line. Every human life has value. And the more comfortable and peaceful we are with ourselves, the more value we will be able to add to the universe. Some people are fundamentally oriented to taking what the universe has to offer. That usually stops somewhere, somehow, somewhere in life that comes to bite you. As a parent, as a teacher, as a professional healing person, we have a privilege, not a right, we have a privilege to be able to add some value to other people's lives. And in my estimation, developing your life in such a way that there's room to take some things from the universe and to bring some things into the universe, particularly in interpersonal ways, I think is the greatest challenge and the greatest balance for the human condition.
I agree. I think being what I lecture in and what I teach on, I teach a lot on archetypes. I teach a lot on characters that are called to a challenge. And I think that's why we're obsessed with superhero movies. We're obsessed with Dark Knight, Batman Rises, right? And Spider-Man, because there are these lowly people, right? That are sometimes you'd never know who they were. And they take on a very large task for the greater good. And it's the Odyssey, it's Homer. It's venturing out of your home and eventually coming back to it and taking on some of the biggest problems in the world that lie 6 inches between the ears. And again, as you said, I can't reiterate it enough, as we grow as individuals, our communities that we're in will start to flourish and be better. And I think the second you start to tap into that, it'll help you stop drinking every night. It'll help you maybe from smoking pot just to get through the day, at least as a motivating factor.
The psychological components are, we're all entitled to get some reward. We're all entitled to get some pleasure out of living. If
Right.
there were no pleasure in living, there'd probably be no motivation to do anything or to even be alive.
Right.
So we all have the capacity to do bad and the capacity to do good. These are choices that we make. I think one of the challenges for the human condition is to try to be able to get your needs met in a non-zero-sum game manner. How do you get your needs and wants satisfied, but also bring something into the universe or bring into other people's lives? To negate one or the other would be erroneous. To say I don't have needs, like I don't have a need to be recognized that I'm a decent doctor, or I don't have a need to be recognized that I'm a teacher giving to other people, would be a mistake. We all have those needs, but then if that's the only thing that drives us, we're going to be imbalanced. If we acknowledge those needs and figure out how to be gratified in reasonable ways, then it makes us the stronger to be able to help gratify others too and help them grow. In school we're taught reading, writing, arithmetic. Nobody ever really teaches us about fundamentals of self-awareness or psychological principles until we're much older maybe and take our first health course or a psychology course. But the reality is that the measurements of and predictors of life success are not built only on whether you're good in algebra or not, or even on whether you're a good writer or can summarize a novel effectively. The measurements of health and success and a productive life course are built largely on an entirely different set of skills that have nothing to do with the traditional things that are measured in IQ tests. And that has to do with emotional intelligence,
Right.
The ability to be insightful, the ability to have awareness, the ability to understand emotions, emotions that I have and emotions that you have,
Right.
and to understand how my behavior influences you and how your behavior influences me.
Right.
Now, young people are particularly sensitive to what other people think, and that's a characteristic that melts away a little bit more when we get a little bit older and we have more and more accomplishments in life. We become a little bit less sensitive. But think of all the people in middle age or older adulthood who've gone through the world needing that acknowledgement or recognition. Some of them politicians, some of them actors. When our well-being is built on what someone else delivers or fails to deliver, that's a signal that we're out of balance.
Right. Dr. Saltz, thank you so much for coming on.
My great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And everybody, with that being said, this is Just Start Podcast. And on this episode, just start to make a decision today that's going to impact a meaningful, more fulfilling tomorrow. I'm Jordan Hernandez. Thank you.